Welcome, and thank you for joining our LPG Talks Live today. I'm André Pimentel, and I'm with ANOVA, the Remote Tech Monitoring Partner and Industry Council of the World LPG Association. It is my great pleasure to host the second edition of the LPG Talks Live series. Today, we'll be discussing safety. Safety is of paramount concern to all involved in the LPG business, from producers through the supply, storage, handling, and distribution chain through the consumer. Our industry strives to ensure that everyone producing, transporting, selling, and using LPG is aware of how to do so safely and securely. We have had a lot of interest in this session. Thank you all for signing up and tuning in today. We hope you will find this super helpful and productive. First, I'm delighted to welcome James Rockall, CEO and Managing Director of the World LPG Association. Welcome, James, and thank you so much for joining us today and for kicking off our session.
Well, thank you, Andre, and hello, everyone. Welcome to you all, wherever you are in the world. We have about 300 registrations for this webinar, which makes it one of the most popular webinars we've ever held, and I think there's a reason behind that. Safety imperatives, I think, is of course extremely important to everybody. But let me first start by wishing everybody well. And since this is still January, I think I can still say Happy New Year to all of you. And it's a year that holds I think, a tremendous amount of promise for everybody. So this first webinar of 2021, as I said, focuses on safety. And that is just so appropriate in our industry. And for those of you for whom English isn't the first language, you may miss the subtlety around the word imperative. Imperative, according to the dictionary, is something that demands attention or action. It is an unavoidable obligation. So I want you to all be clear that we're talking about the responsibility of everybody in the LPG supply chain, from producer right the way through to consumer. Our product LPG is, we call it, an exceptional energy. It is low carbon, it's clean burning, it's portable, it's a modern energy. It can go anywhere and it can bring comfort to millions, if not billions of people around the world. But like any energy, LPG can also be hazardous if it's mishandled or it's misused. The WLPGA considers safety and the promotion of safety to be paramount. It's in fact really one of our prime objectives. Our vision also clearly states that we are here to promote the use of LPG to foster a safer, cleaner, healthier, and more prosperous world. So be under no illusion that we take safety extremely serious. As I said, every actor in the supply chain, from producer all the way through to customer, or from government to manufacturer, everybody has a responsibility, firstly, to be informed, and secondly, to act in the right way. Risks can be quantified. Procedures are written, guidelines and good practices are distributed, but accidents still happen. So how can we further improve this? Well, undoubtedly, we need to talk about it. We need to understand. We need to continuously act on these things. And this is really why we're holding the webinar. And I guess it's probably also why you're here as well. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for going back to your workplace and doing something different after we've met today. Something that can avert an accident, something that can avoid the devastating impact, both human and financial, that can result from an accident. And finally, thank you for not leaving safety to chance. Back to you, Andre.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much. Before we jump in, we thought it would be interesting to open up a quick poll to get to know better who is with us today. So I'd like to request for the poll to pop up. First question, from which region are you joining us today? And there are all of the regions: Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia Pacific, South America, North America, or other. This will be able to help us to understand better from where each one of you it's coming from. We'll just give it a minute. Can we move into the second question? Okay, so here's the results. We are seeing 41% coming from Europe. We have a very significant amount of people also from Asia Pacific, which makes sense for the time. North America, very surprisingly, as it is very early there. So thank you for joining us, and thank you all for joining us. So we do have another poll, which for what type of company do you work? Can we launch that? There it is. So for what type of company do you work? So it is very important to all of us to understand from which safety is obviously very important, but we need to understand from which angle you are looking. LPG distributor, gases manufacturer, industry organization, equipment supplier, technology vendor, consultancy, or other. If you can share that with us, it would be great so we can better understand. Okay, I think we can probably close and here's the results. So 48% as LPG distributor, but we also have a significant number of equipment suppliers, industry organizations, and consultancy. So thank you for voting. And now moving into the next point in the agenda, I'm very excited to have with us Andy Sibley, Chief Business Officer at Simply Energy, where he has the privilege to lead, build, guide, mentor, and steer a diverse and fantastic team to create a movement of decarbonization. Alongside Andy is Chance, that has been a symbol of process safety. Welcome, Andy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Andre. Great to be here, and welcome everyone.
So what's the story behind Chance? Can you tell us a little bit the background?
Yes, I can. About 6 years ago, we started to look at our company. We're a generator. We have about 500,000 customers, and we had an LPG supply business as well. And we started to realize that we were focusing a lot on our occupational safety. So the equipment, safety equipment that people wear, etc. But we weren't really getting into what's our core processes, what's underlying within our systems and processes that could lead to a major accident. And there were some telltale signs around some near misses, etc. So we needed to do a bit of a deep dive, and there's a bit of a story behind this, but we asked ourselves a few questions, and I'll share very quickly. These are the sort of questions we asked ourselves. Are we doing enough in safety? Are we focused actually on the right things? Do we have the right culture? And are we too focused on measuring incidents at the expense of our process safety? And how do we have anything way of really recording our process safety incidents? And we came back with some real hard soul searching and said no, we weren't really, and they weren't really. We did think we were focused very much on what we would call the occupational, the simpler things in safety, the goggles, the right PPE, etc. But the systems and processes were showing that as a company and across our business, we were having a few near misses, etc. So we needed to really look at ourselves, and we asked these three questions. Do we understand what could go wrong within our business? Do we know what our systems are that could prevent this happening? And do we have any information can we assure ourselves? And this is taken from a lot of work that was done in the UK some time ago as well. So we asked those questions of ourselves, and rather than reinventing the wheel, we looked at others and knowledge around the world for this, and realized that a lot of it is about shifting the culture of our business to having safety a core part of it, but in a non-confrontational way, but in a way that actually you engage people in a cultural way where it's not all about investigations, what happened here, blame, So we really needed to go on a journey. And a great example here, I'll put here, you take the whole company, and from the CEO down, we took them on a big journey from asking the sort of questions that, I'm an engineer, why can't we restart the plant? Those types of questions when you're operating plants and processes, to the first question, okay, that's fine, but are we safe to run? Are we able to safely run as our first point of call and these sort of things? So we took people on a journey, a huge program of work and cultural thing. And one of the things that we wanted to do is we also thought that in safety, there's a lot of things that you don't see in the systems and processes of a business. And we did a lot of work with a lot of agencies to work this. And we said, look, we didn't want to leave anything to chance in the business. Are we leaving a little bit too much on the table, which we don't know about? So we needed to work with our people to be able to create something that we could all buy into in a non-confrontational way that people could understand. And we ended up in a place, interesting enough, where we ended up we personified that chance in our business. And here he is. He's a little fella. And there's a video, and I'll share all the information. And the whole program was, we didn't want to leave anything to chance in our business. And we knew that our staff and people really know that they, as engineers, they know the expression of gremlin in the system. And so we created this little fella. We weren't allowed to use gremlin. They were copyrighted, but we created our own version of that. We even sprayed him to make him look dirty and filthy and in our systems and processes. And he became a symbol, but of, we put him on tables, he led the meetings, etc. And the whole program was built around him. Let's not leave anything to this little fella. Let's not leave anything to chance. So we did very much a work and focused him around that to try and take people on a journey around it. And one of the things why we did that is because we focused on the people, how people feel and behave at first, before we started to really look at our processes and systems. A lot of safety programs, you focus on that half first, and you don't really overcome some of the cultural issues that are underlying, that may undermine your safety performance as a company. And then, of course, we had systems and processes in the background. We had one of the things that we always thought is if you take people on a journey, you need to be able to measure things for people so they can see that they're improving not in a, oh God, we've had all these accidents, but how we had these key indicators that are leading up to anything that might well happen on our business. So we've got an online dashboard where we're not putting extra work at people. We had a lot of data feeds in that tells us the health of our business from a safety perspective, not from an incident, but are we doing the right maintenance? Are our people correctly trained? All the elements of the plant, process, and people are all functioning in that, and we can see that live, and we have a very scalable version of that from our directors down can all look at it and see where we are at any one time. But to get to that point, of course, we needed to make safety something that people wanted to engage in, not a taboo subject where anything that happened, people felt that they were going to be blamed or intimidated. For instance, we did away with investigations. We don't have investigations. We have learning teams, and we framed them up in a completely different. What were the conditions that led up to where we are today with this particular? And so we really focused on our people things. So that's how he got born, and that's how we ended up with him. And he's been very successful. We've helped people all over the world break down some of the barriers and getting staff engaged into the. This is amazing what this little fella can do around the world, to be honest. Yeah.
That's a great story, and I met Chance in Marrakesh. That's the first time I got introduced to him, and we are missing him, and for sure he will be very helpful. Can you share some of those successes around the globe? What was the challenge, how we overcame it, and the result you had?
Yeah, we did some work in Malaysia and Canada, where one of the things was to break down the culture of information flow when things were happening. We did a lot of workshops in allowing information flow of what things weren't right within the systems and the companies, and we helped these companies with this type of a lot of workshops to say, okay, let's get real about what's going on in the business, and took the fear out of, well, actually, I feel that we're leaving a little bit too much to and it basically allowed them a mechanism to basically say, well, I think we are leaving too much to chance in this particular area of our business, because we used to put him on the table and I used to facilitate his workshops, and it took the edge away from the confrontational sort of view of, oh, I better not raise anything, because I told a lot of stories about what had happened in our business and what had been happening around the world and things. And the whole thing, he really signified that you could view safety. You can have a bit of fun with safety, and you can view safety in a way that you're all in it together. And it's not about, oh, blimey, don't you raise that, because the managers don't want to hear what's wrong. And we really worked with a lot of different teams around that. And also a lot of workshops in helping people build a whole process of engagement, but also of systems that you could actually say, okay, what do I need to monitor, Andy, to make sure that the early warning, the indicators we pick up, so that we don't have any incidents. So we've done, successes a lot. And interesting enough, some of the stuff we worked on, and we did it to ourselves as a company, and we've got, we had quite a few assets. We have about 11 power stations, as well as the LPG business at the time. We changed the whole maintenance to be safety focused, process safety focused, rather than availability. And what that did, that took some convincing to do that, but our prioritization was changed. And we did that with another couple of companies. And what we found is our availability of our plant went up. But we weren't focusing on that. It was just an outcome of really focusing what was important. And from a safety perspective, what we saw, and the trend continues to rise, that our availability and reliability goes up because we focus on the core process safety elements of our business. So that was some of the sort of things that we've been finding around the world with this work here.
Thanks, thank you, Andy. Would it be possible to say if any of the companies in our industry would like your help and support, would they be able to reach you and get that kind of support?
For sure. To be honest, we've got a lot of information. We've built a lot of, we've got an online tool, an app and things that we're not asking for people to pay for. We can share and knowledge how to build that sort of stuff, and you can even take it. So it's very much about a real open source resource that you can use and take forward for yourselves. And where we've helped really is getting mindsets of companies aligned to, okay, we're all in this together, really getting into safety in a way that you can bring people on the journey of actually flagging things early enough that are wrong, and actually getting out from the management down. And I remember one great example of this on a particular company. A plant had gone down. The plant was out of action, and there was a huge pressure for this particular plant, and it was costing this company $2 million a day, not coming back. And there was a lot of pressure, commercial pressure, to do that. And we were working with the CEO. And through this coaching, because he was obviously facing this commercial pressure, and the signification of really what the new version of the company was like, is he actually asked the question of the plant manager to say, not when can you bring the plant back, but can you assure me that we're safe to run, as his number one priority. And he delayed the return of that plant by another week, until he could provide that assurance, where in the old type of company was get it on at all costs. It's costing us a fortune. And that was the sort of thing that we helped with, and we worked with some coaching, some leadership teams as well. Because ultimately where you end up is the long-term benefits really do stack up once you start to align everybody in the same process. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Andy. Thank you for bringing chance to life and reminding us not to leave nothing to chance. Thank you very much. You'll be joining the panel in a very soon. And before moving into the panel discussion, I would like to launch a new pool to understand how do you think chance can help all of us and our industry? So if I would be able to request, there it is. How could chance be used to improve safety in LPG industry? Has a key influence to safety, has a symbol of process safety, has a way of engaging staff in safety improvement, or you think chance is not useful in changing safety culture? So if you can all, please reply to the poll so that we can better understand how chance can help us all improve safety as a key concern and as a key action. We'll leave it a few more seconds before closing the poll. And I think we should be in conditions to close the poll if we can get the results so everybody can see how could chance help safety in our industry. Has a way of engaging staff in safety improvement, and that was the one more voted. There are a few that think that chance is not useful. I'm sorry, maybe we can be able to change your mind during this session. And a few of so 27% as a key influence and 33% as a symbol of process safety. Thank you all for voting on how could chance be used to improve safety in our industry. And now moving into the panel discussion on 2021 safety imperatives. To lead the discussion, we have David Tyler, Director of LPGA, responsible for business improvement goal that holds safety as a key topic. Welcome, David. David, sorry, I believe you are on mute. Apologies.
My apologies.
There you are. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Andre. Yeah, and welcome back to Chance. It's been, I think, 4 or 5 years since I last caught up with him in Marrakesh, and I think you offered to give him to me to take back to the UK at the time, and I regret not taking up that that opportunity.
Yeah. So does he.
Yeah, so is he. Well, once again, a very warm welcome to all of you, and thanks for joining this webinar. And some of you will be just waking up, and others, like poor old Andy, getting ready to go to bed. Our panel today includes 4 people who are very passionate about safety, and of course a puppet who represents a threat to our business. And you've heard all about that just now. And the 4 panelists represent all corners of the globe and are from countries and regions in different stages of LPG market development. And really interesting to see the result of the first poll. We have over 40% online who responded to that poll from Europe. And you would expect Europe to have quite a good record in safety, and whereas most of the challenges might be in developing countries. But I think what it says about safety is that it does not discriminate. It's not just imperative to apply a thorough safety regime in mature markets. It applies to all markets. Now, the other thing about safety is that it doesn't sleep, and we have to be vigilant at all times. And before we start the panel discussion, what I'd like to do is put another poll up for you. And this is a very simple question: is what is the biggest single influence on safety? And I think you'll see some alternative answers for you to select from. So we'll have that poll up in a second. There we are. So what do you believe will have the biggest impact on safety? And we're talking about 2021 this year. So this goes back to the theme of the webinar. Use of smart devices, focusing on building a safety culture and educational programs, looking at industry regulation, or some other initiatives. So we'll leave that up for a second or two. And then let's draw a line under that poll and see what results we have. So we have quite a spread, but the winner there is building a safety culture, which is what Andy was discussing with Andre just now. But the use of smart devices and other technology, over 22% of you believe that has one of the biggest impacts. So let's move on now to the panel discussion. And before I introduce the panel, I'd just like to remind everybody that WLPGA has three main goals in its program, one of which is business improvement, and safety comes very much within the business improvement goal. Now, each of these goals, we have three goals, each of these goals is chaired by one of our industry council members, and the chair of the business improvement goal is Blaise Edgar, who's joining us from Geneva. Blaise is the downstream manager for Oryx Energies for West Africa, which is his other hat. But first of all, Blaise, hello and welcome. And I'm going to ask you to put your WLPGA hat on first. And as chair of the business improvement goal, what is the key safety message that you would like to give to members of the WLPGA?
Thank you, David. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy New Year to all of you. In fact, from my point of view, safety is not something separate from our business. It is how we run our business to achieve good results without harm to people or the environment in which we operate. The good thing is that WLPG members have a strong commitment to enhancing the image of LPG and the industry. And as you can imagine, this cannot be achieved without a strong focus on safety. I urge the member to continue this focus and to support all the safety initiatives undertaken by the association in the framework of the reinforcement of safety in the industry. This is the key message that I would like to say to the LPG, to the WLPG members.
And now, Blaise, if I can ask you to put your Oryx hat on. Oryx has a number of businesses that you operate, LPG businesses that you operate in Africa. And during this latest pandemic that we're going through, there are obviously a number of challenges that you faced, not only keeping your staff safe and fit and well, but also keeping the business running and keeping the shareholders and other stakeholders happy. So how difficult has it been for you during this last 12 months to balance that?
I mean, our shareholders are very concerned by the health and safety of the employees and the customers. Therefore, at the early stage of this pandemic, we were asked to put urgently in place appropriate measures to protect the staff and the customers. I would not say that it was not difficult to put measures in place to ensure the safety of people, but we had to adapt our emergency response plan, taking into account the specificity of this pandemic. But based on the information that we had on COVID-19 and the recommendation from the authority, we have put in place measures to ensure that staff work in safe conditions and that our product are delivered to consumers without any risk to them. And as you know, communication is essential in such a situation. So a communication tool has been put in place, and we regularly exchange information with our customers on the measure that we have implemented to prevent contamination in the workplace and during product deliveries. And honestly, I can say that I'm very pleased to see that appropriate measures have been put in place by the management team in Geneva and also in our different affiliates, as you mentioned earlier, to continue to respond to our customer needs in a safe manner during this crisis.
That's good to hear. Blaise, thank you very much. Let me move on now to Pete Ralston. Pete works with UGI, one of the largest LPG companies in the world. And Pete, you've been running some corporate safety initiatives, not only across the US, but also across Europe. And one of these is the Senior Leadership Buddy Program. Could you explain a little bit about how UGI International Senior Leadership Buddy Program came about?
Yes, of course. Basically, for the last sort of 3 years or so, we've been developing a system called the Industrial Management System. And what this is this is a framework system about different areas of safety that need to be implemented inside all UGI owned sites. So one of the things in the IMS that is particularly promoted is the concept of leadership. It's seen as an absolute vital concept in it. And more importantly, the concept of what we call visible leadership. So that's people who are in positions of authority within the company being demonstrable in what they're doing. They need to be seen. And that was one of the key elements that we took from that. One of the issues that we have is that we are a company, particularly UGI International, which is the part that I work for. We're 17 different countries, 22 different languages, a lot of acquisitions. So there's different elements of safety culture in there. And what we wanted to do was to have a common vision about what UGI International wanted to achieve in terms of our safety. And we knew that the best way to do that was to harness the talents of the leadership at all levels throughout the company, and then utilize them to help promote safety inside the business.
And Pete, did you have a particular person who was the champion of safety within UGI International, or was that you?
Well, it was interesting. It's several. I mean, we have a very, very strong advocate for safety in terms of our COO, who is Paul Ladner, and he was particularly keen to roll this out. Also, Marcus Dreyer, who is one of our vice presidents, really came on board as being the champion and promoting this. And it was a very interesting process to do, because obviously when you're trying to bring, we tried to do something a little bit different. Now, Andy said before about this concept of stop inspections. What we didn't want this to be was to be a kind of a management beat them up session. So we took on board a slightly different perspective about how to run out this buddy program. And we brought in line the concept of, I don't know if people are familiar with this term, but a critical friend. It's a phrase that's been used in sort of local government for quite a period of time. And what it's defined at is, if you imagine you had a problem, who would you turn to for advice or help? You would probably go to either a relative or you go to one of your friends. And you would say, I have this problem. What can I do about it? And you would trust them as a friend to give you valued advice through their perspective. And that's what we try to achieve with the buddy program. And what we are achieving with the buddy program is, the idea is that our most senior leaders go into the organization, they partner with a number of sites, and they become a critical friend for that site. So they're building up trust, they're demonstrating leadership, and they're taking an actual interest in the day-to-day issues that people have, the employees have inside the sites in relation to safety.
Interesting. Pete, thank you for that. Let me move now into Asia, Asia Pacific, where incidentally half the world's demand for LPG will be in a couple of years' time. And I'd like to introduce Liaquat Ali, who I've known for, gosh, over 20 years, I think, Liaquat.
Yes,
He's the general manager, technical and HSE for the Omira Group in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, for those of you who don't know the market, it's a country of 180 million people, and it's been the fastest growing LPG market in the world in the last 5 years. So lots of challenges for your organization, Liaquat, in keeping up with that demand. And I know that you and your industry is doing a great deal to harness that growth. But my question is, what can the government do to ensure that LPG continues to be delivered safely in such a fast growing market like Bangladesh?
Thank you, David, and thank you all for taking me as a panelist member. And I also remember Mr. Tanjeeb, who gave me this opportunity to come here. And I'm trying to recognize the safety system in Bangladesh. There is a lot of things I can initiate here that Bangladesh can help, or Bangladesh government can help us for protecting consumer rights. And secondly, promoting quality products and controlling substandard products. And initiating new concept like community kitchen. As because in Bangladesh, there are lot of people live in one single place, a small place, and they are not so much educated. So we can initiate this community kitchen in that area. So it will be helpful for them. And another, sponsoring cartoon. That means as a Mina cartoon that can promote safety awareness among the people. Because you know, Mina cartoon, it was designed by UNICEF for the education purpose, for children education. So if we create such a cartoon in our Bangladesh, so this type of cartoon may help safety in all people. And another, promoting digital technology. Already you know, we have a dedicated energy ministry in Bangladesh, and our state minister Nasrul Hamid is a very good people, and he is trying to promote the safety culture in energy sector. And not only energy ministry, there are a lot of another organizations. They are also trying to create the safety awareness in our Bangladesh, that are Explosive Department, BARC, Energy Regulatory Committee, and BSTI, Fire Department, Environment Department. So we are working here together to uplift this safety session in Bangladesh community. And another, forming effective and trained safety team from long experienced people from different LPG companies. So this team can help, can generate, can inspect all the industry, that means LPG industry, hither and thither. So it will help us to grow safety everywhere. And broadcasting safety messages through TV channel, electronics media, and social media. Now there is a Facebook, there is a LinkedIn. So government already trying to uplift the safety system all over the Bangladesh through different media. And transferring product and safety knowledges to the mass people through different types of pictorial messages. So this message can be displayed in the mass people area. There is a bus stand, truck stand, launch stand, and also a school, kitchen, hospital, and kindergarten areas. So there are a lot of our mothers, they are waiting for their children. At that time, if we can generate this type of cartoon at their premises, they can know about the safety, they can know about the uses of LPG. So it will help us to promote our Bangladesh. And finally, there are a lot of safety system to be upgraded in distribution system. As because you know, now there are a lot of tankers are running on the road. There are LPG run vehicle, that means barges. It is running on river. So we need to promote this safety culture everywhere in the country, so that the LPG will be coming from plant to road, from road to distributor, from distributor to retailer, retailer to kitchen. So we need to ensure each and every sector. So LPG will be known by each and everybody, and its uses to be known by each and everybody, and the safety to be known by each and everybody by educating from every corner of the Bangladesh. So safety system will be very good for them, and this message can be sent to everywhere that one life is very costly than the cost of safety. This is message to be generated, message to be sent to each and every corner, each of every room, that one life is very much costly than any incident cost. So we need to gear up the safety system each and every corner of the Bangladesh. So how we can protect the safety? Protecting, there is a proper transportation system. So this transportation system should be very much design, proper design. So without any design, nothing can be rolled on a road. Secondly, using non-traffic area, that means river. We can promote this riverine transportation system to send any LPG to the customer. And finally, establishing national emergency control. That means if there is any incident happen, so within a few minutes, some people will come, some vehicle will be coming to protect the people from incident, and arranging proper loading and unloading mechanism. In Bangladesh, not only Bangladesh, fast growing country, the cylinders are throwing from the truck. Cylinders are throwing from everywhere, from top to down. So it can hamper any incident, it can hamper any hazard, any safety system. So if we fix any loading, unloading equipment or arrangement system, so people can handle their cylinders from truck to down and from down to truck smoothly. So there will be no any incident. And also training facilities for drivers and associated people. So we need to encourage them how to handle this system, how to handle the product, how to handle their own vehicle. So if we try to teach them each and every corner of the Bangladesh, so people will get more learner, people will get more informative, get more knowledge about the LPG uses and LPG handling system. So
Liaquat, you're very passionate, and I know you've been in this business a long time, and certainly the industry needs people like you. There's a lot of very, very powerful messages there, and what I suggest everybody does at the end of this webinar is it's all recorded, so you can play it all back and listen very carefully to what Liaquat said, because there was a string of things there that I think if we all apply, will make this business safer. And I was very interested to hear your comment about Mina, the UNICEF cartoon. And this is almost similar to what Andy was talking about earlier with Chance. We're using a character to try and communicate the message. And I know Mina is trusted by young children. So it's a very, very interesting concept that you have there. So a lot of really good messages in that contribution, Liaquat. Thank you very much indeed. And talking of Andy, I want to go back to Andy before I go back to Andre. Andy, one of the things you mentioned, I wrote it down here, we need to have fun with safety. And I know you meant that in a positive way. Listening to what Liaquat was saying there, we have this little cartoon character called Mina, and it's extremely popular in Bangladesh and the children love it. How do you think we can take up that comment from, there we are, that's Mina there, the little girl in pink. So how do you think, is this something that we can capture and utilize rather in the same way that you've done with Chance? Is that something possible, do you think?
I think so. I think the key thing, and we've learned from experience, you know, through the safety, shock and awe, you know, around safety will get you so far, but it actually won't bring people onto a cultural thing. It creates the first shock, but that dies away very quickly. So how do you keep a lasting message, which is not all doom and gloom around safety, and making safety, you know, you can talk safety without, you know, you can have a bit of fun. We used to say, don't let, you know, with these meetings and things, Christ, you know, I forgot about that thing. Good grief. I need to sort something out there because I don't want Chance to muck around with my plant. So it becomes a thing you can talk about in a non dramatic sense. And anything that for different cultures you've got that you could do that, it certainly has a positive impact because people feel more comfortable talking around something like that, because there's a lot of fear around raising things around safety. And if you can break that barrier, whatever tool you have, which culturally fits for you, I think is the key message I've got for us. And breaking that whole, oh no, not another safety conversation. You know, people, it's not a naturally inspiring thing. How do you do that? And this is what we did with these sort of things. So that anything you've got a method around from a cultural perspective, you can do that, engage people more broadly in the conversation without feeling that safety is just a bolt-on that they have to talk about, that they want to be engaged in, is the key thing for us, I think. And so it could be anything. What really works for different cultures is the key, I think, that you can break down those barriers.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, certainly cartoons can cut through a lot of what's the word, jumble.
Yeah.
Certainly,
Yeah.
if you're in a country with language issues or with illiterate populations, cartoons can convey very, very powerful little messages as well.
Yeah.
So let me pause there. Thank you from the members of the panel. Andre, I'm going to come back to you to see whether we've had any questions coming through from the audience.
Thank you, David. Yes, we do have one question from the audience. It's from Brian Worrell, and he asks, "How can the WLPGA play a more active or even more active role in the safety?" Probably towards you and Blaise, and all members wants to answer, of course.
Right. So, well, I can tell Brian that this year we've certainly having a big focus on safety within the program. We have, as Blaise mentioned earlier, we have this business improvement goal, which encompasses safety as a topic. But I've had conversations with James, who's still here, and it was a conversation I had about Andy and Chance when you guys came to Marrakesh. I just felt that we didn't really take full advantage of Andy's presentation. And I just feel that there's, and the poll I think has demonstrated that over 90% of the people believe that have contributed to that poll believe that Chance can have some sort of contribution to improving safety. So Brian, we are going to go away and have a look and certainly take some of the feedback from this webinar on board as well. We are going to do a lot more on safety, and we're going to try and do it in a way that engages everybody a little bit better than we've been doing in the past.
Thank you, David. No more questions. We have time for another quick question around the panel.
Right. Okay. Well, let me. I don't think we can go around all the panel here, but Andre, I think you're going to ask a question of the panel.
I do have one question from to the panel, and that's for all the panelists and to you too, David. So if you had to elect one and only one safety initiative to accomplish in 2021, what would it be? If you had to elect only one safety initiative to accomplish this year, what would it be? Quick question for all of the members.
Okay, well, let me give the panel a few minutes to think about that, because
let me start with you, David.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can give you what I think. If I had to have one achievement at the end of this year, it would be to identify, and this is a measurable thing, it would be to identify a person within our membership, within each one of our members, who would take on the role of safety champion. So many of our members probably already say, well, there already is one, and UGI will probably point to Pete. But I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of members that we have as well that probably listening to this webinar today probably are thinking, well, perhaps we need to pay a little bit more attention to it. And as Liaquat said earlier, the Minister of Energy in Bangladesh, he's the champion within the government there. And I wouldn't hesitate to say that Liaquat is probably the champion of the industry there for safety. So that would be my response. I think to try and identify somebody who would pick up the subject of how to improve safety in the organization and take that on board as one of his challenges this year and be the champion of safety. So
thank you, David. I'll probably ask Peter one initiative to accomplish in 2021, if you could.
Yeah, you're holding my feet to the fire there. I think I would have to. I would have to go with what Andy said right at the outset here, which is one of the issues you're always going to face in safety is this: should I report it? Am I going to get into trouble? This is going to cause problems. And I think for want of a better word, the detoxification of safety would be a good thing. It should be seen as something that everybody's responsibility. You should be able to talk about. And I think one of the concepts that Andy brought in there about learning teams, I think is a fantastic idea. And I think that's a really good way to go forward. Stop focusing on what went wrong, who's to blame, but more to the case of, okay, this didn't work the way that we wanted it to do. What can we learn for this? How can we improve it? And how we can make ourselves all a bit safer from that learning.
Thank you, Peter. Detoxification of safety, that's noted. Blaise, do you want to share one initiative to accomplish on safety in 2021?
Yeah, sure. As you know, unfortunately, we continue to have a lot of incidents related to LPG in our household. So I think that it's important to put a special emphasis on the development of awareness and safety for the domestic customers, consumers. This is a key because we sell product, as James said here earlier, if it's not used very well, it has some hazard and it can present a very dangerous product to the customer. We need to develop that. And we put, an emphasis on how to develop of LPG at the domestic level. But parallelly, we need also to ensure that our customers know well the characteristic of LPG, and we should provide them with instruction to use the product in a safe manner. But we should not only raise the responsibility of the distributor that we are. Customer also has some responsibility, because once the product is delivered to him, it is totally under their responsibility. So we should ensure that they know how to keep the cylinder in a safe place, and how to use all the appliances of LPG.
Thank you, Blaise. Thank you. So special emphasis in safety in domestic customer on handling LPG. Yeah. Mr. Liaquat, the one achievement, the one accomplishment on safety for 2021.
Thank you, Henry. So it is our duty. Where is my? So people cannot hear my sound. So it is our duty to communicate safety messages to each and every family. So each and every housewife, we from our distributor channel. So if we send pictorial messages and uses of the LPG, so they can follow it from morning to night. So they will be very clearly understood about their product, their safety, their kitchen. As because in our country, I have visited each and every places, from burn hospital to clinic, and from kitchen to plant. So I have seen education is the very learning method. So if we give them proper education, proper training to the people, then they will be very understood about the uses of LPG. And LPG is the right choices fuel in the country, and this fuel is the future fuel. I can define it is future fuel for our whole world. So we can transfer this fuel without any cost. There will be no any piping cost. So if we serve this safety LPG from our plant to kitchen in safe way, so people will be using our LPG without any tension, without any hazard. So WLPG, and we will try to train them regularly, so they will be understood about the system and the fairness. That means each and everybody think that LPG, it can burst anytime, so it can create hazard anytime. So if we remove this type of fairness from their mind, so yes, they will be understood that this is very green energy. We can use energy without any tension.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liaquat. And I noted down communication program with distributors to focus on education. Thank you for that. Andy, very quickly, your 2021 safety accomplishment?
I would love to continue the journey of making safety less considered a less a burden to a company, and just the core mentality of just this is how we do it in our companies, and just help more and more companies to do it. This is just who we are. You know, we provide a great fuel, but we just do it safely, and having it boards in companies that's the core thing they focus on to start with, because we know that business improvement and focus on the area will deliver great business results. So just keep progressing that whole shift in mindset around safety, rather than being a burden to a company. It's just the core of the value of how they do business. Because a lot of companies say that, but when it comes to it, it's not enacted.
Thank you, Andy. So I noted continue safety less burden mentality change as a program of education, and making sure that safety, it's not a burden, but is seen as quality, as something that needs to be.
Yes.
These are all great initiatives. Let's revisit those goals throughout 2021. Thank you, David, Blaise, Peter, Liaquat, and Andy for participating in this panel. So just to summarize, we had James focusing on what imperative means. It demands attention. So safety demands our attention. It is imperative that we focus on our attention into safety. It's our responsibility to be informed and act on it. Accidents still happen, and it's up to us to make sure those reduce drastically. Andy mentioned that everything came from the chance creation from, do we really understand the risks and the impact of safety? I heard David saying that if you think safety is expensive, just try accidents. I mean, it's really like this, and we cannot leave process safety leaving nothing to chance. We need to make sure that we leave nothing to chance. So future and change is critical. On the panel, Blaise highlighted that WLPGA is committed to safety and is a focus of the business improvement goal. Pete also shared the common vision in UGI in terms of safety and using people leadership to foster safety culture. And Liaquat, several actions planned in Bangladesh from systems evolution to education. We also ended up with five accomplishments that our panelists would like to launch and finish and successfully in 2021. So I would like to, before just wrapping up, open for the last poll, and that's to understand a little bit the impact on your plan. What's the impact of safety in our plan? So if you can launch, we have a couple of minutes. Here it is. How will the information discussed today impact 2021 safety plan in your company? Very informative. We will add a lot of what was discussed today to our safety plan. Helpful. We will add 1-2 items discussed today to our plan. Validating. This helped me confirm that the plan is in good shape. Motivating. We are ready to create a safety plan. And not helpful, as I had hoped. So let's wait a few more seconds before we close up the session. Just giving time for everyone to vote. How will the information discussed today impact your 2021 safety plan? Identifying a champion within each member of the WLPGA, detoxification of safety, communication program with distributors. Okay, so we have the results. Very informative. We'll add a lot of what was discussed today in our safety plan. We hope you do, and that is a tie with validating. This helped confirm that our plan is in good shape. And it's really great to see that 26% of the companies have a plan that they consider in good shape, and also knowing that this helped companies to include several things that were discussed here in their safety plan. So this wraps up our session today. I want to thank you all for being with us today, for your interest in safety and in this second LPG Talks live session. Also a very special thank you to James, Andy, Blaise, Peter, and Liaquat for being here with us today. Thank you, and hope to see you all in the next edition of the LPG Talks Live. Thank you for attending the webinar.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.